anybody who's non-assembly line an opportunity to ask a question before we dive into a quick demo. Does that sound fair? Okay, cool.
Do people have time constraints? Maybe that might be good to
That's also
check
yes.
in on.
Does anybody who has a question have a time constraint also before we do the demo? I'm going to take all of your silence as no, and you're all going to hang out for all of Teaching Tuesday. No, that's fine. I'm sorry. Person who's is A. Logan.
Audrey.
Audrey. Hi,
Yeah.
Audrey. I'm Aubrey.
Audrey.
Hi. Yeah, we're going to answer for each other, aren't we?
Yeah, yes. To confuse everyone, do you have a question for Teaching Tuesday?
I do not. I am a fly on the wall today. Hi, Caroline.
Okay, awesome. Well, Audrey, we're going to do, I think, a demo of one of our newer forms. And I think Donna and Ryan are going to tell us all about it. And as a reminder for demo, can tell us what kind of feedback you're looking for. What, you're allowed to kind of say this is a problem, we're working on it, or seek feedback on how to solve the problem as we go along. With that.
And how, like, has an SME gotten a chance to look at it?
And they said in stand up that they're looking for an SME, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and you can just call out things that you want your SME feedback on. That'd be good.
Yeah, as we go through, I'll point out, like, we're gonna wait for some feedback from the SME before we change like this or that or something like that. But yeah, I think our plan is I can share my screen and run through the interview, and then I believe Donna said she'd like take notes on any feedback that anyone gives. And I think we're looking for really any feedback, except we haven't really done too much with plain language yet. We're kind of waiting until we get like the full form set up before we start getting too nitty gritty with the wording and stuff like that. So any like form and function stuff, we'd definitely appreciate feedback on.
Okay.
Am I good to go ahead and start sharing?
Yes. And just for timing wise, we'll try to do about half a Teaching Tuesday max. Does that sound like a good amount of time to get through the form?
Yeah. Okay. I don't think it should be too long. We were able to remove like the entirety of the second 2 pages from the form because they were all questions that are related to the notary public, and we're going to wait until we get some feedback from the SME before we include those in the interview, asking, because we were like confused about whether you need to be in the presence of the notary when you're filling out those fields and get the signature and all that. So we were able to cut it down to like a 2-page form in terms of interview.
Okay, cool. And I'll drag a PDF of your form into the assembly line for anybody who wants to look at it. But that
perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll stop talking now. Go ahead.
Yeah, so just to introduce the form, it's a minor name change petition. Essentially, it's anyone under 18 who wants to change their name, and they need like assent from either their parents or guardians and stuff like that. It's pretty much the same as any other adult name change form, but I think we've just pretty much added like requesting permission from parents and guardians and parent and guardian information, stuff like that. But starting just standard docket info stuff. Put in my own name for this. I'll spend a bit more time on the questions that we put in ourselves than the ones that were put in by the assembly line. But so the first one that we added was if there was a previous name change, and then yes or no. No, we'll just take you to the next question, and then yes, we'll ask what the prior name was. Let's do like Frank Reynolds for any Always Sunny fans out there. And then I'm not sure.
So one note about that is how likely is it that people will have had multiple name changes in the past?
And you mean more than one prior name change?
And do they need to list all of them, or just the or if not, what do they need to list, right?
Yeah, I think that's something to ask the SME. We, based on the form, we assumed that it was just the most recent name change because it only provides space to put
because there's no space for more. And as well as that, like one of the issues is whether we can have like more than 2 parents or a parent and a guardian. But then if you have more than 2, there's no space on the form either. So, and whether, like when you have 1 parent, then whether the spaces need to be filled in as an NA, or whether they just can be left out blank.
Mhm.
So do you, I guess that's a note to add a question for your SME about whether this particularly, I think you've already added the other ones as issues on GitHub, but this one, how many name changes can a person have, and how many are they, you know, what is the procedure when someone has had more than one name change already?
So
right?
I do know the carry request form that you're going to need to integrate lets you have more than one name change.
Okay. That's the one that you just linked in your like coding help post today.
No, that's the adult name change one I sent you.
Oh,
But
okay.
that incorporates the carry form.
And
So the carry form is the criminal. I actually don't know what it stands for now. I'm like, it's not criminal record information, but it's basically anytime you've interacted with the court.
Okay.
It's a release that allows them to look that up, and basically it's to make sure people don't change their name to avoid legal problems.
I see. And then we're just gonna incorporate that into this interview somehow and attach it like within our forms so that they can provide previous court interaction information.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. It's one of the things that you on your form, it says that you need to include with it. So, and it would be kind of hard for someone to do this without having that done as well.
Okay. Then moving on to this next one, I mean, we don't really have
Activity. Thanks, Caroline.
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, can we add some questions that are not on the original form? Because like we had like some of the issues when it didn't make sense. So basically that we needed like an extra question or something, but there are no spaces on the form, or do we just need to stick strictly on the form, to the form?
Donna, can you just can you think of an example of that? Because my immediate reaction is yes, because sometimes the information doesn't go on the form, but you think of it in a way, you need to ask some information so that you can ask more information. So for example, say you do want to have multiple, a really simple example would say you want to have reflect multiple name changes. So you say, how many times has Ryan changed their name in the past, right? That's not that question. The answer to that question is not on the form, but in a way it is on the form because you have to put them all in. Is that the kind of thing you're asking about?
Yeah, or say like if you'll need to, if they like to change their name like more than once, so obviously you'll need to fill in the details of the previous names, but there's no actually space on the original form.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that in fact that's what makes this activity better than the court form, because lots of times the court form question is a compound question that's asking three things, and the user might feel like yes to some and no to others, and there's just a yes or a no possibility. So that's the whole point. You break the thing down so that people actually know how to answer the question. So that's the answer to your question is yes. Absolutely.
Thank you. On this, I mean, we haven't had any errors with this or anything, but one thing we were just curious about, like whether or not it was a location thing or a browser thing, but I get this like calendar date selection pop up, but when Donna attempts to do the interview on her computer, she doesn't get this and she has to type in the date.
That's a browser thing. Are you using Safari, Donna? I think Safari had issues with that.
Yeah, and I was trying, I think it was like a calendar one once, but then I went into it again and I was like, I need to type it all manually. And I was just wondering like it's weird because we're using like the same form. And yeah, but maybe.
Is this a question you wrote or is it the built-in question?
This is a built-in, I believe.
Okay. So we do have we have a data type birth date that we should probably make the default for birth dates.
I believe we are using the birth date.
Yeah, it's the ID birth date question, right?
Yeah. So
No,
we should change that so it uses the data type birth date.
The data type is capital B, capital D birth date, I believe. So I will type in chat.
We should double
Well,
check. I didn't remember if there was a capital D, but we should. But
So we just
Okay,
need-
well, we should check on that.
we should check.
Yeah.
Probably also worth giving a quick rundown of what a data type is.
Yeah. To answer Michelle's question, I don't think it is. This is just going to be garbage, but that's the link to the birth date question that I'm pretty sure is the one that's being asked, and that's just like how the question is defined in the assembly line repo. And specifically, like
That is not the custom data type, though. Like that's not our custom birth date data type. Maybe I'm thinking of a different.
Oh no!
Thing that y'all are talking
no,
about.
I think you're right. Actually, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, Michelle, I think you're right. It was also capital
Sorry.
D.
Yeah.
So to answer both parts, it is not our built-in question should use the data, the birth type, birth date data type, which maybe we should just show what it looks like so people can. Well, maybe not. We don't want to interrupt your demo, but the point is, it's a much easier to use date picker for something like a birth date, where you don't want to have to scroll through the years and years and years that you might have been born if you're some of us in this team.
Okay. That's something we can go back and change. We'll just give it like a cleaner birth date, aka UI.
Well, it's you probably shouldn't have to fix it, is I think what we're deciding. I think we should fix it in the main repo.
Gotcha.
I think we'd avoided having dependencies in the toolbox, but I think we have enough now that I don't think that's a good reason to avoid having a better data birth date selector here.
Okay. Let's address stuff. And these are a bunch of yes nos that we added just to be reflect like checkboxes that were on our form. So just asking whether the address you entered on the previous slide is an address under this GIS. Just fills the checkbox on the PDF. And then on the PDF on the form rather, there's like 3 separate checkboxes asking check any that apply for who is presenting this petition on behalf of the child. So we have so that you can select all 3, but something that we need to check with the SME is whether you can have, like right now we have you can do 1 or 2 or 3, but we're not sure if you need to make it so that it like hides the guardian option when you select parents, or if you're allowed to do like 1 parent, 1 guardian, or 2 parents and a guardian. We just need like clarification on this specific guardian parent combinations from the SME. But we have it set so that if you select that the petition is being presented by a parent, either of the 2 parent options, it'll just bring up questions and regarding parent information, and then vice versa for guardian, it'll bring up questions regarding guardian information. There's a checkbox asking if only 1 parent is listed on the child's birth certificate, and on the form it asks for the parent information as listed on the birth certificate. So we've made it so that if you answer yes to this, it'll only bring up the parent information slides for 1 parent, and if you hit no to this, it'll bring up 2 parents. And we're unsure if we need to implement the same thing for guardians or if it's only expected that there's a single guardian. I know that it provides room on the form for guardian and co-guardian, but that's just another thing that we need to check with the SME. So we hit yes for this, and then these are just more checkboxes.
I just have to jump in to this. I know it's a plain language issue, but it's a really confusing way to ask that question, yes or no. So how many parents can you possibly have? So I think an easier way to ask these things is how many parents are listed on Ryan's birth certificate, right? Ryan's the child.
Mhm.
I think that, and then you can put in a number rather than this funny yes, no question.
So were you thinking like a field where you type in like 1, 2, 3, etc., or like a multiple choice where you select either 0, 1, 2? Or
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would ask it a slightly different way, but it would be how many. 1 parent is listed, both parents are listed. You could do something like that, right?
We did have a question of whether in Massachusetts you can legally have more than 2 parents and or guardians.
Right, but this is specific to the birth certificate.
Yeah.
I mean, this is.
Can you have more than 2 parents on a birth certificate?
They are going to talk to an SME about it, but I'm just saying the way you ask the question, the content of the question will depend on the answer for the SME, but I'm just saying the way the question is asked would be more like how many parents are on the child's birth certificate, and use the child's name. Because you know the child's name at this point.
Yeah, and that would just be with the like money sign, curly brace, variable name, like parents, whatever I thing in there, or user I thing, and it would just fill my name.
Yeah.
We just
okay,
have
I think that makes more sense. It would be less confusing than a yes no.
Yeah.
we just haven't done
You-
any work on the language yet. So
Yeah.
when we have all the issues fixed, then we're gonna go and make sure that our language, like, it is clear enough.
Yes, but I'm just,
And
but Don, I'm just saying that some of these, it's not necessary. I mean, you may go back and do plain language, but sometimes this kind of ties into the question that you were asking about the extra questions you asked to clarify. So sometimes when you ask the extra questions, or you ask the questions in a way that are easier for people to understand, not just in terms of plain language, it helps you think about the flow.
Yeah.
And this is a child's name change, right? So the child isn't going to be filing this.
No, that's
The
what
child's not the user. Yeah.
who's filing on
Still-
behalf of them.
So
I
you
still
might
think you
start.
should-
User means main party as far as our forms are concerned.
Okay.
Yeah, we have, I believe, user set to be plaintiff, so it assumes that the person typing on the computer is the child until it asks a question saying like, who's presenting this petition on behalf of the child, and like we tried to make the other questions say that the person who's answering it should not be the child, or indicate in some way like the parent should fill this in.
You also
Okay,
should
so
be-
that. Go ahead, David. Sorry.
I was just going to flag it before it got lost. You should be careful about using what name you use if you're using the child's name when going back to it, since it's a name change. And there can be many reasons for why someone wants to change the name. You don't want to call them by the name that they no longer are wanting to use.
Right.
That's true. So do you think it would be better to just leave it as the child, or?
No, you can still personalize, but you don't want to use a name that someone's running away from.
That's correct.
Or for whatever reasons changing away from.
So yeah, we have a question.
On the adult name change petition, the way we did that is we asked for the new name they wanted first.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. We could reorder it. I think the proposed new name comes in like 5 or 6 questions, but we could move that up in the order of question asking so that it appears before the questions that are going to ask, like would say the person's name.
Well, I think the other thing in terms of order is the first, because you're saying, and then you're going to say, well, if you're the child, you can't file. So my feeling is on this one, you could say, who is filing? Who are you? Are you filing? Who are you filing for? So you get the parents or the guardian, whoever is right up in the beginning, so that if the child is filing for their own name change, you let them know that they can't right at the very beginning, so that they haven't answered 7 questions and they find out at the end. And then that way you can ask, what do you want to change the child's name to, or something like that.
I think that makes sense. And then there's a way, I'm assuming we could put in a screen that just says, like, if you were to select I'm the child presenting this petition on behalf of myself, it would make a screen appear that says, like, you are not allowed to present this petition unless it's better terming, like, you can't do that pretty much. And then, like, put them at the start of the interview.
Yeah. And in addition to which, if you're, this is, again, I mean, I think it's important because it's thinking about the order of the questions, is that if you say who is filing the petition or who is presenting the whatever it is you're saying, is that you're going to have names. So then you can say, is your name on the birth certificate? Or if somebody else is, and then you can actually say, is Frank's name on the birth certificate? So the more you can work in people and personalizing it, easier it is for people to read and follow through.
I think that makes sense.
The logic.
So then sorry, I don't know if this is like reaching too far since it's all hypothetical kind of, but if we're moving that who's presenting this to the beginning of the interview, would we have to like set, like, I know that we have somewhere it's like user equals plaintiff or something like that in our code so that it knows that the person who is considered so that it knows that the child is the person who's being addressed on the form. Would we need to like change that around if we are asking first who's presenting it, and then it's going to think that the parent is the user or something, and that we wouldn't want them to be recognized as the minor? I'm not sure if I worded that correctly. That was a pretty confusing question, but.
Just going back to, I think Quentin explained it, but maybe it's, and maybe I misunderstand. I don't think the user is the child. I think the user is the petitioner in this case. That you're changing the name, the child is whose name's getting changed, but the child is not the plaintiff or the litigant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if
Yeah,
you're thinking.
Sorry, I think the only reason I was confused about that is because I believe on the PDF, like when it's asking for the minor name, like on the form, I think it says, like, what is your name? Like the way that it asked, it made it appear as though the child should be filling the form out. But I'll take a second look at the PDF. Sorry if I just pulled this away. Oh no, it just says print child's current legal name here. So I guess you could be the parent filling this out for your child, which makes sense. But okay, so
can we see the form really quick?
Yes.
It looks like it's in one of the tabs there. Okay. So in the matter of, so it looks like it's not the person who's filling it out is not the petitioner. It looks like it's an in re case.
So then
in the bottom,
the case would be not.
Oh no, it does say petitioner. Sorry, but then it also says print child's current legal name here.
This line was pretty much what confused me because it makes it seem as though the minor is supposed to be the petitioner, but then the rest of the questions are sort of worded as though someone else should be filling them out.
This does just seem like a form that is worded, yeah, like it's just worded poorly. Like they were trying to take into the exact case that we're talking about of whether or not it's the child or the legal guardian filling it out.
So this is what I was yakking away with and muted. This is to me, this is a perfect case of where you don't, it doesn't matter about the petitioner. The parent, in real life, the parent is the petitioner. The child is not the petitioner. So just because the court form says the child is the petitioner, you don't have to treat in your interview the child as the petitioner, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so this is where you use language that people can understand and completely, and you fill in the places. It's like Mad Libs. You fill in the right answers in the right blanks on the form, but you're asking the questions in a way that the parent can understand. So in reality, the child is not the petitioner, even though the court form is calling them the petitioner. You don't have to call them. You don't even have to use the word petitioner in your interview. But in terms of in terms of variable names, you can make the parent be the user because they're the ones who are filling out the form. Okay. I mean, that maybe I'm totally wrong.
I was gonna say, is that true? Like I could imagine, like if the child's under like 12 or 13, then yeah, a parent's likely gonna be filling something like this out. But I can imagine if there's like a child in high school who it's like they're the ones who wanting to change their own names, that they could be the one filling it out and just also get the permission and signature and info from their parents as like, yes, you can do this, but the parent's not the one filling it. I don't know enough of how these cases actually are run, though.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just jumped the gun here and didn't read the whole form.
Yeah,
also, I know nothing about how these cases are run, though.
Yeah, I think it expects the child to be under 18 but older than 12 so that they're able to fill the form out themselves, but they just don't have the legal capacity to like file it themselves. So someone else has to present the petition on their behalf, but they still technically could like download or print out the form or go to the court and get it and like fill it out themselves. But then someone else just has to like be the party spearheading the like case for them.
So, okay, the other way, this is the way we did the 209A, which got a little bit complicated. But then you can, so we did a similar thing. So if you're a 209A survivor, if you're a survivor and you're a minor, you can fill it out for yourself. You can fill it out yourself, but you need somebody to file it for you, like your parent or a guardian, as long as they're not the abusive person. Or you can be a parent or guardian and file it out for your child on behalf of your child. And so the first question is, who is this name? Who's asking the court to change the name? I want to change my own name. I'm asking the court to change my child's name, something like that. So you could, and I guess the importance of using the user for variable name is all the AL questions are related to that. That's probably what the issue is.
That's why we've been sticking with it the way that it is, because it has all the auto-generated AL questions.
I'm sorry I derailed it, but maybe the thing to do is asking who's asking the court to change their name, whose name, and then you can do your OBO for the parent or the guardian, and you can keep the child as the user. I'm sorry about that.
I think that makes sense. I mean, that's
I just
important.
dropped a link on the Assembly Line channel to the mass.gov website, which I think was really helpful when I was doing the adult name change petitions. I don't think there's a page on Mass Legal Help about name changes. Is there, Caroline?
No, not anymore. It was old and we didn't do anything about it. And I'm trying to think. Rochelle did something with name change, but I don't think it ever got finished. It was a classroom thing. But I'll look for it and see if I can find it.
So you'll want to look at that. Like one thing, it might help you clarify some of the questions about like who's allowed to file. Although I'm not positive that it is really saying that. But one thing I'm noticing is you'll have to incorporate the affidavit of care or custody. Affidavit disclosing care or custody proceedings as well.
I'll definitely take a look at that. And I think, I mean, that proposed like new structure with asking right away, are you petitioning to change your own name, or are you petitioning to change the name of your child, will just make the whole question formatting from there on like a lot more straightforward on how to like word questions and who should be referenced in like the question, whether it should be the name or just saying the child or the parent or something like that.
And if you are incorporating other forms, that's a good reason to keep the child as the user object, because that will help their name go in the right place in the different petitions.
Yeah, it'll just keep things consistent across all the different forms.
Because the child's name does go into the case caption here on this form. So, and it will be on all the other forms too.
That makes sense. All right, I can keep moving through the questions.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I want to call out the time and see if we can maybe get a few more questions in.
Yeah, sorry that I
No, this is all good. It sounds like we still have questions on this question, but
I mean, these are more just checkboxes. List if any legal parent on the child's birth certificate is deceased. If any legal parent on the child's birth certificate, the parental rights terminated. And then just ask you for parent information. Enter an address, phone number. And then this is the start of the like assent questions. It asks pretty much if you're under 12, and then we haven't put it in yet, but the goal is if you say yes, you're under 12, it'll say like you can't file this petition on behalf of yourself, get someone else to file it for you. But if you're over 12, you're able to assent to your own petition. And then we just have.
That might be a question that comes at the very beginning.
Yeah,
so that the person knows what they're getting into.
Yeah, so they don't get halfway through the interview and then realize they can't actually do it.
That they have to do a lot more work to make this happen, right?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then these just provide yes, no assent, and if no, explain why for whoever is involved, either parents or guardians, depending on what was selected earlier in the interview. I'll just do no.
What happens if they say no?
I mean, ideally we would. That's another thing we had a question for the SME about is, should we, if they say no, stop the interview right there and say you need to assent, or should we allow them to say no and explain why, because it has the space for it on the form, and then that's something that the court has to like sort out based on looking at who assents and who doesn't, like weighing them against each other or something.
Okay, that's a good question. Cool, let's keep going. Very good question.
And then, so this was the one that we were suggesting be moved earlier in the form, probably, so that we can reference the new name that the child wishes to change to, but it just asks for a new first middle.
Okay, yep. And maybe suffix. Do they need the suffix? Does that come into it?
Yeah, that actually could, like is it the junior, senior, like the first, second, third?
Yep.
And then
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we should probably add that in, I would guess. And it just asks for a reason for name change. And then we just this morning worked on setting it so that it expects a minimum of one attorney, and then we were unsure if like something else, I guess, for the SME, if it's there's only room on the form for one attorney, but is there a possibility that you could have, since the parents would be the ones presenting the petition, like a different attorney for each parent and one assent?
Are you required to have an attorney? Is that a requirement?
I believe so. I mean, at the very end of the form, it asks.
So you should be able to do this pro se.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's like, I'm looking at some of the online cases of this because it seems interesting, but it looks like you can do it pro se, and I don't know if they just expect you to like write your own name in as the attorney.
Yeah,
Okay.
it said if any.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that means that to me is not required.
okay.
So then, yeah, well, before the way we had it before was just asking like, are there any attorneys? Yes, no, and then we had an issue where if you said no, it would crash the interview because it expected at least one attorney. But I think we could just set like,
we can work on that code.
Yeah, I think that's the like ask number, and then you just would with the yes no, you would either like set the number to 0 or 1 depending on whether depending on what they say. But for this, put in their lawyer, and then it's just the other same address stuff, phone number, email, BBO number. And then this was the stuff that we were working on, just getting these all to be presented in a list, because right now if we put in different interpreter languages for each of these, it'll only present the final one you put in, and then we're still just working through how to set up like a list of desired interpreted languages. But it will still, at least right now, check off like which people require an interpreter, and then just only print the final one you put in. And then we weren't sure where it made sense to ask this question in terms of order, so we just put it all the way at the end, saying like, would you like to request a return by first class mail, yes or no? And then we also don't assume there will ever be a defendant in a juvenile name change case. So we weren't sure if there was a way to remove this question, but as of right now, we assume we'll just hit no every single time. Because I believe the juvenile name change initiates a new case, and you shouldn't have anybody opposing the petition for a new name change, as far as I know. But that's probably a question for the SME.
Mm-hmm. And so if it is always no, you can, I'm sorry if you said this, you can set it to no and not ask this question.
Okay.
Whenever you have a question in DocAssembly that you don't want to be asked, it is asking for a value for a variable. You can always stop DocAssembly asking for a value for a variable by setting that variable to something.
Okay. I was just unsure in terms of like the
legally.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good question. Yeah, for the SME.
And then as of right now, we remove commented out all of the signature questions and stuff like that, because it's all in regards to signing in the presence of a notary public and all that stuff. So once we get some feedback from the SME, we'll either add those questions back or whatnot. But as of right now, it's filling in the information and checking off the boxes and whatnot, but only putting in the final language that we request. So once we sort that out and figure out the different ordering and the user who's presenting, reordering the questions, we should hopefully be in a pretty good spot.
Awesome.
Awesome. Cool. Amazing progress.
Great job. Yeah, it's exciting to have a list of things to work on, and it's exciting to have things that are working. So great job. Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who has just definitely needed assistance in a few spots. And
yeah, thank you.
Advice has helped a lot.
And I'll have office hours tomorrow is Wednesday, so 2 to sometime between 2 and 5 Wednesday. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, I think Donna and I were planning on meeting late anyway, so we will most likely be making an appearance during your office hours to ask some questions.
Cool. Or I'm planning Mondays and Thursdays, a 7:30 to 10:30 for those who rise early ET time.
Although Donna, that's not too early for you, so that might be nice.
I don't know what Donna's doing at that
Yeah.
time of day, but yeah.
All right, well, awesome job. Let's open the floor to some questions. Anyone willing to talk about their signature issue? Please.
Oh, and Matt's joined us. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt. Yeah, I messaged Matt on the side.
Oh,
That's
hi.
last time-
Sorry, I
last
missed it.
time- No, last time I felt like I kept putting you on the spot, so I thought I'd try, but then I've just inadvertently done it again.
That's okay. Thanks. Actually, I don't have any questions today, so I'm just here to learn. Thank you.
Great. My
Oh.
friends with the signature flow issue, is anybody willing to share it? Pull up their code, work through it.
I would love to, but I'm on my phone, so I can't share my screen.
Oh,
Joelle, that is
What's
fair.
You're
what
off the
is
hook, I
the?
guess.
I was gonna say if the interview that you have is code committed to GitHub, or someone else could pull it up for you.
It is on GitHub.
I think I might even have
Oh,
Playground. Remind me the name of your form, Joelle?
It's the pre-trial housing memo.
No, I don't. Okay, but I'll pull it in. Do you want to? And you can you see the screen on your phone?
I can.
Okay. 30 seconds.
And let's see if we can work on how you troubleshoot this kind of issue in the future, not just on solving this particular issue.
Please do not look at all the other tabs that I have open.
You're going to get to do the blurring this week, Aubrey.
What's that?
You can do the screen blurring this week.
Oh, yes, yes.
So I'm still working on a plain language review. I had a little bit of issues last week committing to GitHub, so I have them all saved on Atom on my laptop. They're just not updated on the GitHub.
Okay.
Sounds good. You're getting an impromptu review. It's exciting.
Yeah, if you want me to slow down on any of the slides, I'm trying to get to where we get the signature.
Well, let's not review right now.
let's say Aubrey with the speed run here.
Oh no.
Oh, that. Okay, so that fix actually might have not updated on GitHub, but it's a quick one. I can just tell you what it is, Aubrey, then you can just refresh.
Yeah.
Wherever it says docket, if you just want to search docket, all the I's, just change them to a 0.
Oh, right. We did this together.
It's just a couple.
Oh, that needs to go.
And I think that's it, yeah.
No. Okay, so this is not where it's supposed to be.
Correct.
Okay, so first thing, what do you do when you're not sure where a question is coming from? Can anybody remember?
Sorry.
All right, you hit the source button. It's in the tab. And that helps you trace what caused that question to be asked. So let's see if we can trace all the way back. So it's asking at the bottom for user signature.0. Before that, it's asking for the attachment preview, which is very interesting. And why is the preview not, can we see what the code is. Hang on. Review form before blah, blah, blah. Preview. Cool. Oh, where's Quentin? But maybe Bryce, because preview should automatically, let's see your document. Let's see the
It's a
attachment
doc.
block.
If it's a docx, looks like it's a docx, right?
Is it a docx?
I believe so. There was docx template file in there for a bit.
One thing with
yes.
Aubrey was changing the template so that the signature is like a conditional. It's like the if, but that made the signature appear even earlier in the interview than it is.
Well,
Also,
let's
it's-
see. Well, you won't be able to open the docx here, but there is a way to do a conditional. I'd be interested in seeing the conditional that made it appear earlier.
So there, yeah, I did add a conditional. I'm curious to also see whenever I think you're right. It's like signature dot if preview or something.
Final.
Where did I add it?
The one that we used is
So the one that I've seen used is if, show if def signature, user signature, right?
Yes, that's one way of doing it. But yeah, essentially like signature if final, just you take in, it takes in whether or not it's final or not, and if it does, it spits out the signature, and if it doesn't, it spits out just a blank. I think it's only on AL individuals though, and so I think we would need to see that the docx template to know a bit more about what's going on.
okay. You want me to
Either
open the
now
docx?
or
But just to
Okay.
just to sum up what happened, what we did is we looked at where it was coming from, and the question was asking for the document, which told us that the problem was in the document itself. Even though we weren't able to see, it's difficult sometimes to tell problems that are appearing in the document because that doesn't appear in the stack trace. But if one of the things during the stack trace is a document is requested, sometimes the document is the problem.
So here's our document.
And where is signature? There we go. There's no if. So we can try show if def and see if that works. Yep, and you have to give it a string. Yeah, perfect. No, yeah, you were getting it right.
Whew.
I think if that's a proper quote, if that's not a special kind of quote, like if it's not a fancy quote, I can't see.
I think they're straight.
Yeah.
Straight.
Okay, those look straight. Perfect.
And do we need to do that with signature date also, because signature date is part of the flow for
That seems very likely.
Yeah, I think you might actually.
Okay. And Joelle,
Show if defined?
It stands for show if defined. Now, I mean, there's other ways to do this, like how Bryce was saying, but I'm not sure what was going on with your final statement. So I would say if I is equal to final, then, user 0.signature, but I don't know. I don't know if I makes it all the way into the docx.
It does.
Nice.
a question that I was going to ask. Joelle, what is supposed to show up?
Okay.
So
what is supposed to show up where?
Instead of the signature being there, what question should be showing up?
If you continue, it's just kind of towards the end. It shows like the preview and stuff like that. So it's not like it's replacing anything. It's just too early.
Okay. So we went from building your case to contact information.
That's a good sign.
That is a good sign. And then we get our preview. Sans signature. I don't know what that is.
Don't know what the brackets are. Yeah, that's interesting.
Happened to me with something. I can't remember what the fix was. But we did get a date.
Interesting. So signature date must be defined somewhere. We can try and look for where it's
I
defined.
was going to say the source tab might also have this, usually has this information.
Yeah,
if
if
it's
you can
just been set.
Here.
Yeah. Or underneath it, but this will just tell you that it's been defined. It won't tell you where it's been defined. Hey,
So-
Caroline, we can hear your menu. Caroline?
Caroline.
Oh, there we go.
We might have, is this the variable for the, that we use in the signature flow?
Yes.
Yes. And it's being set somewhere either in this interview, or I would think it'd be this interview because just look for signature date all over the interview. Like it's there, but also let's look other places. Oh, interesting.
So it is,
Oh, we have a default. It is
We have a
set for
default
later.
for signature date?
We do. It's set to today. If it is not directly asked for, maybe. I'm
I
not
mean, you
sure.
can always make a
But yeah.
question that will directly ask
Yes,
for
yeah.
the signature date.
right, doesn't it though? It asks and it defaults to today in the question, but the question should still
Apparently
be there.
not. Apparently it's just a value that we set, is what
Okay.
Bryce is
This-
saying.
this
So
may have
if
been
you
a
want to
recent
ask
change.
for a separate thing, then you need to make a question to ask for it.
Okay. Does everybody hear what we're saying on that? I see Ryan's head shaking, but we can, so it's no longer part of the basic question signature flow to automatically ask for the signature date. Is that true?
That's right. So in most
Okay.
cases, the signature date will be today. And so apparently that's a choice the project has made to just make it automatic. But like anything else, you can override where that is set. You can make a question that defines signature date, and that will take precedence. And so that will force the signature date to be asked.
Okay. So for like question for interviews that we're not sending directly to the court, that's can be important to maybe not include a signature date somewhere to put it, or to ask and put a question back in to ask them when they're going to sign it, because we don't want him to say today, then go to a notary tomorrow and have it signed. So it's just like a call out. Cool. Back to Joelle. So we've previewed it, and now we're getting our signature flow. Sans date, which is good to know.
Woo!
Woo!
Nice. All right.
It's amazing.
So
So happy to see. Thank you guys.
cool.
Yeah.
And
Of
I think some
course.
of our other teams have the same issue, but they're not a docx. So how would we fix a show if defined issue in a PDF while we have a few moments? That's a question I don't know. the
Does
answer.
someone have a PDF they want to show that are having this problem? Is there anyone here? Raise your hand if you are having this problem in your PDF.
I know. Come on.
Well, I don't know, maybe this is in the PDF, but let me just make sure it is. I'm having an issue with the signature showing up on the form.
Oh,
The final.
I think Kajal might have frozen.
yeah. It's always like when you're about to receive the crucial information.
It was probably bandwidth because it was when she turned on the video. I don't know.
Kajal, turn off the video.
We'll get her back. But it sounds like maybe it's a different issue, like it's showing up on the PDF improperly or something.
Right.
Not showing up.
I would be surprised if it were a problem on a PDF because the Weaver takes care of that. So if people edited the code after that, or they're editing an old form, then there would be a problem, but it's just less likely to run into that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Can
We'll
someone
wait for
message
Kajal.
Kajal
Yeah.
to say just don't include your video, just don't turn on video?
I did. Our form is a PDF, I believe.
Okay.
Oh.
Do you want to share it and tell us a bit about the problem? Do you know a bit about the problem?
I mean, I don't know much about the problem because she was working on the signature part. I was working on other things. So
Yeah, no worries.
No worries. Yeah. We'll see if she has time to get back in. Does anybody else have a question while we're pending? I had a question.
I just have a very quick thing. Can Donna and Ryan send me your email addresses and your team's name, because I just emailed an SME, because if I don't do it now, I'll forget. And then I can connect her with you if she says yes.
Yeah. Do you want us to message you on Teams or just drop them in like the Zoom chat?
Either
here?
Teams or the chat, but I couldn't find you quickly. So
Okay.
I thought, but I need your email addresses because she's not going to be, that'll be the easiest way for her to talk to you.
Okay.
Our SMEs are often via email.
Yeah, I'll look for you now on Teams, and if I can't find you, I'll just have to drop my Teams name and email in the Zoom chat, and then you
I
can.
think I'm just at Caroline on Teams.
Yeah, it's guest. I tagged Caroline on your question earlier about this me, so you can message her from there, Ryan.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Aubrey,
need
you
your-
said you have a, oh, sorry, go ahead, Caroline.
So just both your, your team's name, I'll get that, and then your email addresses, and then she can email both of you. And if she ventures into Teams, she can try you on Teams. One never knows.
Yeah.
Aubrey, did you say you had a question?
I did. I was going to carry it over from the channel, and I'd asked it, and Bryce had answered. So
Cool.
I'm trying to get, I think I made a loop, and I want to reference everything that goes into the loop on my docx, and I'm trying to write a for statement. And
Great.
so Bryce gave me the solution for attorney in other parties.attorneys. But I think what I was trying to use other party is an attribute, but isn't it a valid variable name? Can you help me understand that?
So are you sure that the value exists when you do the for loop? That the attribute has a value when you do the for loop, and that the attribute exists?
How do I be sure?
Aubrey's got to show her screen for people to understand when you're talking
Yeah.
about
I think
attributes.
that would help
Yeah.
clarify a lot of
Yeah,
things.
yeah. I've got it up. Hold on. You want just the docx, right?
Yeah, let's start there.
Okay. So this whole mess.
So first of all, the P is fine. Okay. For other party dot attorney in other parties dot attorneys. So first of all, the thing you're going to get on the left, for whatever, it's not an attribute, it's just a variable name. It's just a variable, it's not an, so it's going to be the attorney. So you'd say, yep, for other party and other parties, it'd be for attorney in other parties dot attorneys. The other thing, you got rid of the function. Okay. Well, give that a shot.
Okay. So, but were you telling me that I've structured it wrong was my question.
Other than that, it looked fine. It had parens at the end, which was a method call, which wasn't.
I was trying something earlier
Yeah.
before I asked my question.
So I don't actually know if this is what you would want.
Except underneath, you're going to want to use the variable that you just that you have, right? Attorney instead of other parties, 0 dot attorney.
So yeah,
Yeah,
like this is like a good.
Yeah, oh, actually, you're missing the index number for other parties. You may need 2 loops here. So one thing is other parties is plural, and you're going to have to iterate through all the other parties. So first you need a for loop that gets you all the other parties. So do we want to cover
Yeah, let's go to Kajal's question.
And okay, well, all right, cool.
Well, I can keep going. I can go back to the channel. It was supposed to be filler. Kajal.
No worries.
Okay, sorry, I'm not sure.
Don't turn on your video. You don't have to. You can screen share without your video being on. So,
okay.
if that's a if it's a bandwidth issue.
Okay, let me.
Do we still have you, Kajal? We should have had you turn on your video so we can tell if you're frozen.
Kajal?
Shauna, could you message her and see if she got disconnected again?
Yeah, she just told me that everyone's frozen after she tried to share.
Oh no.
So yeah, I might not
that's a lot of bandwidth too.
Yeah, we have a lot of people on. So we will.
Well, it's on her end for
Well, yeah, if loading all of our videos is difficult on, I think, computers in general.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll reach out to Kajal and try to get her separately. I think I'd plan to talk to that group anyway, and we will share if we can solve it, or we will ask if we cannot.
Perfect.
We'll
So for yours, for every time you have something plural, you have to loop through that thing. So you have to dig down. In your loops, you have to first dig down into the first plural, then you have to dig down into the next plural. So you have other parties, so you need to get every other party. Right? First, you need to get every other party. So you might say for, you finish the sentence to me. What would your first for loop look like?
So for other party.
Other
parties and other party and other parties.
Right. And then what would your next loop look like?
So then without doing like you just do and then everything else. So another for.
You do another for.
So for attorney and attorneys or
in
other parties attorneys.
Well, in what was the variable that you just created? We should write it out. It would be easier to see if we wrote it out.
Okay. I will write it out and put it in the channel.
All right.
Because we're coming up on time.
It's true.
And
it's an exciting problem.
And then this way, it continues the visibility and written down. All right.
Perfect.
Any last minute questions? No. Okay. I'm glad we got that one problem fixed, and great demo, team.
Awesome.
All right. Michelle's going to put her teaching or her open office hours in the channel.
Yeah. Jitsi? I don't know. We'll try Jitsi for a bit and see how that goes.